Hey, this is Andrew Brown, your favorite cloud instructor over here at Exam Pro, bringing you another video. And this time, we're talking about how much of cloud do you need to know, right? Because it seems like there is just a lot of knowledge, and some folks start down that journey and they don't know when they've known enough to be productive or have confidence that they have enough to go get that role. And so, there's just a lot of stuff. There's cloud networking, there's cloud programming, there's cloud native, there's multiple providers, there's a data aspect, there's an ML aspect, there's security, there's all sorts of stuff. And there are roadmaps online. They're not great roadmaps. I was working on a really big roadmap last year, which I might have overdone. I should have probably scaled it back and looked at it at a higher level before drilling into it. But I think the issue that a lot of folks have is that they just get into it and then they just see so much stuff and they burn out, or they spend too much time on one thing and they don't ever get to these other things, which would be a lot more valuable to them. For example, people could be spending too much time just learning Python because they're like, the Python is the basis for most programming these days, so I should invest 9 months into Python, which makes no sense. Or they might, invest way too much time learning about virtual machines. So, I want to emphasize about how much of cloud of this knowledge do you have to have. You have to have all of it, but you don't have to have all of it right away to be productive. And so, I think that, some folks think they have to have it all, and that really does slow down their journey. I just want to tell you that even for myself, even before cloud, I didn't know everything before I was getting paid big bucks to be a web application developer, being a CTO or whatever. But I did have to constantly make sure that I was filling in my gaps and going deep on different things every 6 months. So, I might not have been really good at writing raw SQL, but I was able to be proficient enough. And then, 6 months rolled around and I decided this month I'm going to focus on getting deeper on this particular thing. When I got into cloud, I was able to take my web application knowledge, translate it over, but I had this major gap of cloud networking. I was able to get by without understanding fundamental networking. But at some point, I did have to go and fill that gap. So, the goal isn't to, know everything, but you want to be proficient, you want to be practical, and you want to keep going in and updating those skills or going deeper on very particular things that you have gaps in. And I want to make a list and show kind of a high-level stuff that I think that you should tackle. Because people go and they take fundamental certifications, associate certifications, and they're like, I'm ready. And I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Not from a conceptual standpoint, but also not from a practical skill standpoint. And those are two different things. So we're just talking about conceptual fundamentals today. And then we'll talk about that other layer, which is not cloud concepts, but the actual, I'm not sure the word I'm looking for, soft skills, maybe not soft skills, but like, it's the stuff that we do in the boot camp, which is to get you job ready in a practical way, so you're productive on the job. But we're just talking about cloud knowledge, right? So what I want to do is I want to jump over to a scratch pad here, and let's see if we can iron out the things that you should know at a very high level very quickly, and where you can come back and circle around and try to fill in those gaps, okay? So I'll be back here in just a second. All right, so this is a, oh, sorry, I don't have it on screen. Give me 2 seconds. There we go. Now we have it on screen. So, so this document is way bigger than you think it is. Trust me. I've shown this in videos prior, but not everyone's seen it. But basically, while I'm collecting cloud knowledge, I'm constantly organizing it and trying to figure out how to break it out into a better way so that we can take a higher level approach to learning. I haven't looked at this in probably 6 months or for a while because I was doing the boot camp. Before the boot camp, I was trying to organize this and figure out a strategy for folks to learn. And so, and I also have another visualization, which I think is nice, much cooler. I'll see if I can pull it up here. But anyway, this is the breakdown, at least that I had from the last time I was here. Probably I have changing opinions, but you have this idea of cloud concepts, right? So these are your fundamental things that you should know about cloud. They're not necessarily the major categories of the technicalities, but they are going to give you a basis to start on. There is this whole realm of DevOps, which is a discipline that you can apply to cloud. There are the 4 core, and there's somewhere in here, but we have cloud compute, which is a big one. You have cloud networking, which this one clearly hasn't been fully filled out. Developer tools, this one's a large one as well. This is where I put under cloud programming, other things like that. And then we have other concepts like cloud architecture, migration, the roles that there are in cloud, cloud native, which is its own large branch of stuff. But this starts to make a lot more sense when you start to see the divisions of stuff. So like if we go into cloud concepts, right? And I told you this is a big document. I've been mapping this out for quite a while. But usually when you start in cloud, you learn the basis, right? You learn about what is cloud, what's cloud computing, evolution of computing, what's on-premise versus that. The Gartner Magic Quadrant is more about, the word I'm looking for is cloud analysis. Basically, where do you think cloud is going based on trends? Hyperscalers, which is what cloud providers are. The shared responsibility model. So that's your start of some basic stuff. Then we look at the benefits of cloud. So this is all about convincing people why cloud is a good idea and the benefits you get from it. You have your cloud deployment models. So normally we just see 3 of them, but I've brought in other ones here and normalized them out across other stuff. You have your types of cloud computing and you have your 12-factor app. So the thing is the issue I have with a lot of fundamental certifications is they don't intersect with other stuff. And so like a 12-factor app is something we learn in web application development. And I think it's something that should be highlighted there. Never gets covered in cloud for whatever reason. But yeah, there's that. You have your cloud accounts, of course. Initialisms. I like to have this one here because I find that, there is like a sub-language or a way of talking for major cloud providers, and it's good to know that so that you can navigate those spaces very well, because people aren't going to say the full names. They're going to say what is practical. So being able to speak the local dialect of major cloud providers. We have our archetypes of cloud vendors. This is something never gets covered anywhere. But like we have cloud service providers, we have cloud vendors, we have cloud platforms, we have virtual private servers. And so it's important to understand those distinctions of those things, because it's going to help you understand what those things are providing. So like, I put HashiCorp under a cloud platform. They're not a cloud service provider. They have more than one service, but there are particular elements that make up a cloud service provider. And it's good to know those things because it's going to give you a full scope of what those things are dealing with, what they want to be. And then there you have your common cloud services. So I guess I do have this. We cover this obviously in broad, but you have your 4 core services: compute, storage, databases, networking, right? And then you have your advanced, so cloud native, IoT, serverless, ML, AI, data, advanced cloud services. I'm not putting Gen AI on here. It's under AI, right? But ML and AI get a distinction. Deep learning would be under ML. So this is basically where you start, but the idea is that there's always something to dig deep on. So like when I say someone knows cloud concepts, I think that they should be able to do all these things in here and a good chunk of these. How deep do you have to go? Not so deep, but you have to continually pick up that knowledge and drill a little bit deeper. So when we get over to cloud networking over here, you have your global infrastructure, your advanced networking concepts, the networking fundamentals, but domain junk, as in like things about domain names you need to know about, virtual cloud networks, hybrid networking. So my point is, you don't need to know all of this on day one. And in your job, you might not actually have to be very good at it. I'm terrible at domain names and domain registry and knowing how to do stuff with that. I don't need to know. I'll go bug Bako when I need that stuff. And so the thing is that you'll be good at a lot of things, and some things you'll be very good at, and you can defer those or offset them to your other colleagues. So when you're applying for roles, you just say what you are good at, what you're not good at, because the landscape's too large, right? But if you really had to do it, you could do it, and that's why you're going to go in every 6 months or whatever and say, okay, now I'm going to go deep on networking. Eventually, you will cover everything. So even though I'm bad at domains, and I still am, I did at one point do a deep dive on it, and so I can do it. I can do domain stuff if I have to. But it's not top of mind, and it doesn't need to be top of mind. And if I have to reload that memory, we talked about that in the last video, I can do that because I have good notes on it. And so you are building up your own personal war chest of reloadable knowledge, but you have to go into these things one after another. I'm going to tell you, most of it's not throwaway. You will use this stuff at some point in your career, because you will. You simply will. Video game programmers understand this because if, let's say, you are making a video game, there are video game engines which you can rely on that do a lot of the work for you, and then there's ones where you have to build your own video game engine, and the ecosystem looks just as big as this, right? Like, Agent AI, shaders, working with OpenGL. Like the landscape is large, and so it does seem daunting, but you have to tackle each every 6 months or 3 months if you can. But I really like Azure's approach to fundamentals, because what they'll do is they'll give you. Let's see if I can pull it up. Give me 2 seconds. All right, so I'm back. So talking about Azure fundamentals, what they do is they have multiple fundamental certifications. The way is they usually start with 900. I think they all do, except some have 910, 920. But they have Azure fundamentals. So that would be your cloud concepts that we saw there over here, this one. And then you would have your data fundamentals. So here I have a whole section on cloud data. You definitely need to know how cloud data works, because the biggest cost is moving data around, or it's one of the largest costs besides just raw compute. So that's something that's very important. We have security, so they have a security fundamentals. That's one you definitely want to touch. You have an AI fundamentals. That's one you definitely want to touch. And I like how they break up all these into separate ones. The only downside to this is that they are all Azure specific. So when I made my fundamental Azure courses, I started slamming in a bunch of generic stuff because I went, well, I know you need to know more than that. You know what I mean? It's like, it's great to have that fundamental stuff, but you need to know more. And there's just gaps missing. There's definitely gaps missing. Nobody covers cloud programming. So I put it under, where's my cloud programming? Under developer tools. I'm not sure if I like that. But anyway, cloud programming, we have a bunch of primary languages. I have a course that I've just never finished where I'm teaching you all the programming languages at the same time, but you have the cloud programming languages, the 8 of them, there's 6 of them. There's other things that are under there. You have your markup languages, right? You have your scripting, you have your cloud shells, you have your ClickOps, you have your API section here. In each language, there's stuff underneath of them that you should know. So you conceptually should understand how a package manager works and all these things. You don't have to be really good at building web applications, but you have to know the components and the common components to go across these, because at any time you'll be on a project and they're like, we're using Rust. Are you sure you can work in Rust? And be like, yeah, I can work in Rust. And if you know more than one language, you can use that as a mental model. Whatever the language you're strongest at, you can use a mental model. But some languages have things that others don't. And so that's why it's important to learn more than one language. Platform as a service is its own little niche. So I put this under developer tools. Serverless frameworks is its own niche. So, there is a lot of stuff. And again, it seems very overwhelming, but you need to have that roadmap. I really should publish this roadmap. I was going to make one with Roadmap SH. Roadmap SH. I really like the fellow over here. These roadmaps are open. And, until I get mine done, I don't think it's a terrible idea to go here. But yeah, we talked a few times saying like, hey, let's make a cloud engineering one. And I go, yeah, it's going to be a little bit hard because I got a lot of information, as you can see there. But there are ones that are particular to very specific skills like Python, TypeScript. These are good if you are going down really deep into these. Well, I mean, it's not even that deep, but that's interesting. It has data structures here. I mean, well, I guess that makes sense, but there is some commonalities here, but I think that when we're talking about cloud, there are things that you care about and there's things that you don't care about. So like, I want to see if I can pick any stuff out of here. So, I don't think I teach you recursion. I don't care about that. I don't think I teach you sorting algorithms for cloud programming. I don't think I teach you dunders. So, there's some stuff I would teach you here. There's some stuff that I wouldn't, because I wouldn't want to overload folks with too much. But, again, if you're going to be a primary Python programmer, still recommend going through this. But from a cloud programming perspective, that's a different story. But there's no cloud engineering one. There's a DevOps one, right? And so I probably could figure out one here, but really, as a cloud engineer, you're kind of covering DevOps anyway. So that's kind of the challenge, right? Where it's like, I literally have DevOps here. Somewhere here. Where are you, DevOps? I know you're somewhere here. Oh, DevOps, yeah. So here's DevOps, right? So we got a bunch of stuff here. Releases, deploy. So yeah, I think I break it up per category, because DevOps has a life cycle. If you've ever seen the DevOps life cycle. Usually you don't have to look at the life cycle diagram. It's the first thing that pulls up. But DevOps, the idea is that they try to put it in 8 disciplines like that. But you might say, well, Andrew, I'm never going to be a DevOps person. I want to be someone that does architect. No, you need to know it all. You really do need to know it all. It all intersects with everything. Even if your primary day is not going to be DevOps, you need to go through this content. But the only issue is that I would just say that this information is fragmented. Each provider provides some of it. And I would just say that certifications today do not, like the cloud certifications, are very insufficient. And I think they can be a lot better, but I just need time. I need time to tackle it. But hopefully that gives you an idea of, some stuff here. But, tell me what you think. Tell me what you think I should publish this so people can at least look at it. Happy to consider that. But we'll see you in the next one, okay? If I can pause the video. Ciao.